We talk about the recruitment side of things, but you need obviously top quality players to win games. But it's the lack of. I've been in dressing rooms, particularly at United, even at Forest, the Stuart Pearce of this world. I go to United, character, men, leaders. You're surrounded by them. When you're at Chelsea here, you just remember Liverpool, the brilliant team. Liverpool today, a lot of strong guys out there, men, big arms, big shoulders.
If you're Rashford,
brave.
If you're Rashford or James, you're sitting in the dressing room Tuesday morning, and you're looking around, and who are you saying in 10 years' time, I want to be a pro just like him or like him? I know when I went to Liverpool, I could have done that. I want to be like him. I could have named 10 players. I hope I'm like that in 10 years' time. Who can say, who can Rashford say that about right now?
Not many, obviously, because it's been going on
Not
for a few
many.
years.
But we were talking earlier, it's so hard to find those people, isn't it, Graeme, now? The cost of those people. And as we were discussing earlier, who's going to want to go to Manchester United right now? Man
United will never have a problem attracting players. They'll always have a very large budget.
Well, Roy, what do you think about that? Do you agree with that point?
I'm not saying the very best. They'll always attract players.
They'll always get players, but it's getting the very best players.
But I mean, how far do we think they're away from Liverpool and Man City?
Where do you start, man?
I know, but I said before about I've been in this position at Liverpool where you're always trying to catch Chelsea, trying to catch your United. It's never. I know what we're saying here, poor today. It's never as bad as you think. Sometimes you just need that 2 or 3 players who can. Now, can they find them? Who sort of transform? I think of Luis Suarez coming to Liverpool for 4 or 5 years, we're finishing 6th and 7th, exactly where United are. Almost won a title with Suarez coming in. Sometimes just that one player can sort of just make a huge difference.
But Jim, you just said almost won a title. You didn't win a title. You know, talking about Manchester United here, and there's a big difference between Manchester United and Chelsea.
Yeah, bridging the gap first. Forget the league.
Of course,
you need to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
So you need 2 or 3 players to start with to bridge that gap. At the moment, you're 6th or 7th.
That's right. But Liverpool are still trying to bridge that gap because they haven't won a league
I think
title.
they bought well this season.
Who?
United. I think Maguire is a player to improve. He's a better player than the previous central defenders in the club. I think James is, from the young players' perspective, is fantastic. Chapeau to the people that made that decision. And Bissaka is also a better player than not United.
But it's when they come into the club.
They were fine. They were fine with these 3 players.
But you should have to come into a good team. You should treat players like that. Maguire's 26.
And when you speak, for example, about Rashford, there is the young and the young. Marcus Rashford, of course, is young, but 5 seasons in the first team. Louis van Gaal, he started playing with Louis van Gaal. 2.5 seasons with me, playing all the time. Half a season with Ole, playing all the time. This is the 5th season. I think it's very difficult to find a player with 21 years old or 22, I don't know, with so many appearances in the Premier League. So you cannot always speak about the young A, the young B, the young C. Come on. You know, in new generations, you want to be a man earlier than before. You want to be a top player also earlier than before. With 21, 22, 23-year-olds.
He's given his head in that position, hasn't he?
Forget his age, he's not a prolific goal scorer. He's not a prolific goal scorer.
But as Jamie says, we're not quite sure of his position yet, are we?
Well, they decided. Manchester United, you talk about it's totally different to here. They decided to get rid of Lukaku, who, whether you like him or not, his record tells you he gets goals. So when they make that decision to move him on and decide Rashford is the man, and we've had this debate, obviously, when you were manager of Manchester United, is he a centre-forward? Does he want to play centre-forward? Is he better playing from the wide position? You think of sort of Mane or Salah, where you think he'll still get goals, but is he ever going to be Manchester United's centre-forward, that real down the middle? I think I said that last year. I'm not sure if you were upset with me.
The decision was made.
Come on, Jose, what?
When Lukaku goes, and you don't replace Lukaku with the new centre-forwards, the decision is made. It's because Marcus Rashford and Antonio Martial are the 2 main strikers for the club with, of course, Mason Greenwood.
But how can you make that, if you're a football person, forget Man United being one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in our country, how can someone make that football decision and say, next year, I'm going to give the manager James, never played in the Premier League before, and Rashford, and Martial, who's in and out, you don't know what you're going to get week in, week out from him, I'm going to give the manager of Man United those 3 to get me the goals, and I'm saying get me into the Premier League next year.
But you don't know that. You don't know if Ole asked for a new striker.
No, but I'm saying that's how it looks from the outside. That's what he's been given to work with, and that's.
No, he's made that.
I am not
being given that.
I am not, and I've never been politically correct. So when I'm not happy with something, I say, and I put myself into a difficult position by crying all the time about the centre defender. Ole didn't about the striker. I want to believe.
Himself then,
I want to believe that the decision was made. Let's trust Marcus Rashford to be our main striker. Let's trust Antonio Martial's desire of playing through the middle because he doesn't like so much to play from the side. And the decision was made on that.
Joe, so you've worked with Rashford. You know him better than us. Would that have ever been your idea if you'd still been at the club 2-3 years in the future? He would have been a centre forward, or do you think he was suited more to that wide attacking role? Would you have ever gone with him as your centre forward for Manchester United?
No, probably the most important match of my period at United was the Europa League final. He was my number 9. So I'm not going to say that he cannot be a number 9. He can, and he can be a dangerous number 9, especially if the opposition is not pragmatic, is not close, give him space to attack spaces. He can be dangerous, especially in transitions. But when Manchester United is a team that normally, or maybe not as much now, but normally plays against teams that go to Old Trafford, close the door, bring the buzz, bring the double buzz, he is not a striker to play with the back to the goal. He's not a target man. He doesn't score as many goals as a striker should do. So I think from the side, he will get into numbers of 10, 12 goals per season. He's very professional. He works for the team. He understands what you tell him to do by the defensive point of view. I think playing from the sides, let's say a Mane position, I think he can be a very good player, probably better than a number 9. But he feels that he's a number 9, and I think the club and the manager now, they also feel he's a number 9.
There's not enough goals in that group, and goals win you
2
games.
started today who actually scored in the Premier League so far this season, albeit it's early. This debate is getting everyone talking on social media, as you would expect, including, I think, someone that you played with, Roy, someone who won 5 Premier League titles. He's actually working at the club at the moment, Patrice. I think he says,
Past tense.
It's time to get our hands dirty. Manchester United board, are you ready to let us help you guys? Not quite sure what he's insinuating, Roy. Is this a challenge that's going your way? You up for this challenge, joining forces with Patrice?
No, I don't know what he's doing at the club at the moment. But again, if you're looking at the board, you've mentioned earlier how much money have they spent over the last few years.
Is that the answer, to continue spending money? And where does it stop? Or do you have to, at some point, just say, as Chelsea are doing right now, albeit in different circumstances because they can't sign players, we just have to let the young players get us out of this mess?
Yeah, I think there was that feel-good factor for Ole at the start. And even this season, you're going, listen, he's brought 2 or 3 players in, Martial, maybe they're going to play more in the counter-attack, quicker play. I get all that. I agree with what's been said about hanging your hat in Rashford. You couldn't hang your hat in him every week. He's not that type of striker. He hasn't got that physical presence. But again, come January this summer, whoever, could be Ole when Jose was there, David Moyes, you're saying the same thing. They need a bit of time, and they need a few transfer windows, 3 or 4. But if you're losing and you're playing like that, they did today, then it's hard to get that much time. And that goes for any manager. It doesn't matter if it's Ole or Frank Lampard. If you're not getting results over the course of a season, the pressure builds and builds. And these clubs, fans have got big demands. Eventually...
It could not be any worse for them. When you think Man City, the same City flying, and historically their biggest rivals flying, it just couldn't get any worse for them.
And we'll leave it there. And as you know, Jose, every defeat for Manchester United is a crisis.
Of course.
Thank you very much for your time today. Enjoyed your company.
That's why they're one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Indeed.